Hi everybody, this is Donald Twins bringing you another video. This video is in regards to analyzing deals for real estate. I've done deals before where I've actually written out showing you how to analyze a deal, but this time I'm actually going to show you off a spreadsheet that I created that would actually fill in all the numbers for you if you have certain numbers. The deal that I'm gonna be working with you today is off a 6 unit that I was working with a student of mine that was actually doing a transaction in Chicago. I'm leaving the address out because I don't want to put the address of the property in. When I work deals, I work them off the list price or what the person is asking for without negotiating the price first. And the reason I work it this way is because if the deal makes sense at the higher price point, it would actually make much more sense at a lower price point. So without further discussion, I'm going to get right into this. This is a 6 unit. He can actually buy it for $299,000. And as you see, as you put in the numbers, it auto fills everything for you. It's an investment property, so he needs 25% down. He can say he can get an interest rate at 6.5%. The It is a 6 unit, so put the 6 unit in. Now, the average monthly rents, if you don't know what the average monthly rents are, once you talk to the owner and get what the rents are, let's say he didn't have the average rents, he can take the average, he could take all the rents, add them up, and then divide it by 6. And that would actually give him the average rents. But the average rents on this is 850. So as you can see, it calculated what the total rents are for the year, and this is all yearly. And I do also break some of the stuff down into monthly. But he's actually receiving $61,200 a year off this property. The down payment he needs to actually purchase this property is $74,750. His loan amount would be $224,250. He his his yearly payment on this property would be $14,576.25, which gives him a average mortgage payment of $1,214.69, leaving him a cash flow of $46,623.75 and $3,885.31, which would be a cash on cash return of 51.98 and a cap rate of 20.47. So let's put the rest of the information in. The realtor told him it was a vacancy rate of 5%, but I told him to use 10%. And I like using 10% because it makes things a little bit more doable, because you might wind up with a 6% vacancy rate, and you might wind up with a less vacancy rate. It just depends. But I want to work my numbers on the high end for me to actually be uh, for me to be comfortable. They said his expenses is going to cover taxes and insurance, because that's not in the mortgage payments. You don't factor in when you run in the numbers. You never factor in your mortgage. You don't factor in the taxes and insurance. You always factor it in as an expense. So his expenses, they said, is 43% on this property. So his NOI now is $28,764. He has a monthly cash flow of 1182 and 31 cent. His cash on cash return is 15.82%, and his capitalization rate is a 9.6 cap. Now, saying that, the there's nothing that you can actually invest in to actually get a 15% cash on cash return. So that alone makes the property a good property in my eyesight. Now, one other thing that's also factored in is what his closing cost is. Now, I factor my closing costs a little higher, and the reason I factor them a little higher is because I want to be able to account for appraisals, surveys, those other fees that's not associated at the closing table. So I don't want no surprises when I factor in my numbers to purchase a property. Uh, Now he's also said he's going to actually put 3,000 per unit, so that's $18,000. He wants to receive a return on that investment for the $18,000, and he want to receive an investment a return of 25%. Now that tells me the price per door is he needs to charge $62.50 a door in order for him to get a 25% return on the $18,000. Now that means he's going to actually increase his monthly cash flow by $375. It is what it would increase his cash flow monthly to. So he's actually doing pretty good with the property that he's making that much. So the total investment that he needs is $107.77 for him to actually get into this 6 unit. That's for the rehab. That's going to cover his closing costs. That's going to cover his down payment. That's going to cover all his expenses that's associated with it. The debt cover ratio is going to be 1.97. Now, when banks look at loaning on properties, they look at the debt cover ratio as to say, will this produce enough cash flow to cover the debt service that we put on this property? So anything that's under 1.25, the lender frowns at it and look at it as if it's not something they're looking to actually fund on, because they look at it as it's a risky loan for them. So he's at a good place to actually to get a loan on this property. So let's look at what he can pay his investors if he was to borrow the money. Let's say the investor, he can actually give this investor is looking for an 8% return. And that's interest only. So they're making $718 a month. Or if he decide that, the investor, I can do an equity share where he's actually paying them 40%. The difference in the two is if he's paying them 8% interest on the $107,000 that he borrowed, once he increased the value by actually adding the rents in, he's actually going to actually be paying. He's actually going, once he refinance, he actually the $718 would actually go away. So he's still making decent money on a property that he actually didn't invest anything but his time and finding a deal and overseeing the property. It's still time. If he gives them 40%, he's paying them $472.93, which is going to actually give him the a percentage of the property. So let's say later he refinanced and he pulled cash to put in his pocket. He has to give that investor 40% of whatever he makes. If he sells the property for a profit, he has to give that investor 40% of whatever he makes as well. So that's the 6 unit. Now people have asked me, can you use uh, this program for single families? And I said, yes, you can use it for single families, but the numbers just change. You're just using one unit as opposed to using 6 units. So let's just say we found the property in a decent area for $250,000. Same down payment, same interest rate, but we're going to go to where it says number of units, and we're going to put 1 in. Let's change because it's in a good area, so let's say we're getting $2,300 a month for rent. Your vacancy rate is definitely going to drop because you're talking 1 unit. So let's just say your vacancy rate is at 3%. And let's say, and you see as I'm putting the numbers in, everything's changing on its own. Let's say it costs you, say 20% for your expenses. And that may be that's going to be your taxes and insurance as well. That's going to be any maintenance that you may have to do. You're still at a decent cash on cash return is 9%. Most banks are mutual fund. You're getting 1%, 2%. Let's say on the high end 3%. So you're actually doing better in this transaction. You had to put your down payment was $62,500 to actually get you into this property. You had a closing cost of another 12,500. Let's change the rehab cost to $3,000. Let's leave it at the 25%, and you wind up with a $62.50 monthly increase that you need to charge on the $600. Well, let's say you did $5,000 because you're gonna probably need to paint this and some other things. So at $5,000, then you need to charge $2,400 to actually see a 25% return. So with it being in a decent neighborhood, you probably could get $2,400. That's something you need to look at to see what the average rents are on a single family. So you still would have to do a little due diligence on purchasing a single family home. The debt cover ratio is 1.75. So if you have a portfolio lender, this look good to them, that it's a single family home and still generating cash. And let's say you decide to give the investor 8%, same numbers. You're still making $300 because once you factor in the $104 that's tacked on to the $757, you're at $859. Or so if you're giving up the $533 as interest, you're still at a decent place. Let's say you're actually uh, going to actually refinance this property, or are you going to sell this property to actually recoup the investor's money? He has $80,000 tied into the property. You can actually sell the property after you did the improvements for $5,000. Let's say you could sell it for $305,000. So that investor would only get his money back plus the interest that he actually received. If you do a equity partner, they would actually get 40% of the profit on the $305,000 that you would actually sold the property for. So this is a good quick way to actually analyze properties. If you want to get access to this, send me a comment in the comment section, and I'll see about getting this out to you. And in the comment section, just say that you interested in receiving a copy of the express sheet, and I'll see about getting you a copy of it. This is a great tool for you to actually figure out if a property's that you're looking at, if it's a property that you should be buying or you should be running towards the door because the numbers don't work for you. Again, this is Donald Torrance. I want to thank you for listening and watching my video, and hopefully this was helpful to you, and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.